I think now we are live. Hello, everyone who is coming today for our session. Welcome to airfocus's event today. Let's give ourselves one more minute as more people are settling in. And meanwhile, please do not hesitate to let us know where you are joining from and how the weather is where you are now on a on the chat tab. And I'll do a little bit introduction about myself. I'm Ala, and I'm a junior marketing manager at airfocus. It is my first time moderating an event here, so please excuse my excitement. Most of the time, I'm in the chat box, but today here I am on the stage. And also today we are hosting Quadri. Hello, Quadri. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. Um, So yeah, let's just give more minute for let more people to join us, and then we can quick slowly start. I am also joining from Istanbul, and today the weather is like spring here, so it's a good day for hosting an event today. Where are you joining us from, and how is the weather there?
I'm currently joining from Toronto. The weather's getting nicer. I find that as winter ends and the weather gets nicer, my mood improves as well. So I'm looking forward to summer coming.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, yes. Oh, someone from the UK. It will get sunny there as well, I'm sure. Mm, it's too past. Maybe slowly we can start, Quadri. Maybe you can start with a quick introduction of yourself, and then we can start the presentation.
Sounds good. So thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We're going to talk about building a winning product strategy for business success. Now, a little bit about myself, but before we get into that, here are the topics that we are going to cover today. So basically, we're talking about product strategy, starting by understanding what exactly is product strategy and what importance does it play, especially within a product management function, because the two go hand in hand. Product strategy is pivotal to product success. We're also going to talk about the benefits of product strategy. What are the benefits of having a defined product strategy in place? But then, along with that, if we're talking about this topic, we want to provide some insightful feedback and likewise insightful steps with regards to creating a winning product strategy. So, we're going to discuss what the key elements are, the two key elements, but then likewise what should be considered prior to that, the product vision. And then we're going to talk about the 5 types of product strategy. What are the 5 different types of product strategies, and what are some examples of companies that basically implement each type? And the last one as well. We're also going to talk about after that how exactly you execute upon your product strategy and what those artifacts should be once your product strategy is defined. And then afterwards, we're going to leave the floor open to some questions and answers. So, a lot to discuss, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you all and providing as much benefit as I can. Now, with that said, my name is Quadri. Who am I? What authority do I have to speak on this topic? I'm a product manager with 10 plus years of experience. I currently work as a senior product manager for Eco Online, managing a global EHS platform with the mission of helping individuals get home safely to their families on a daily basis. Now, outside of the 9 to 5, I'm a Taekwondo instructor, but I'm also the founder and head instructor at Product Hall, which is an online boot camp that I started 2 years ago. And ultimately, I work to basically assist new and aspiring product managers and existing product managers by providing them with the knowledge, the skills, and the one on one mentorship that they need to build more impactful products with their team. And then, along with this, accomplish their professional and likewise their business goals as well. Now, before we go into our topics, Ale is going to post a question in the poll. And we just want to understand, which of the following best describes your organization's approach to product strategy? At AirFocus, we're constantly focused on basically providing beneficial resources to the product community. So the more information we have with regards to our attendees, the more we can continue to service the product community's needs. So just take a quick second to answer the question, and then we are going to move forward. I just submitted my vote. All
I
right.
believe like, when it comes to product strategy, like how good as it is though, but always there is a room for improvement. Yeah, because like whenever I read product strategies, I really like, okay, this is the best one I see, and then I see, oh no, this is better now. So I think like there is always room for improvement when it comes to product strategy.
I agree with you. And that's because things are always changing in the market. Companies are always learning. Your competitors are always up to something. So even though you might think that your product strategy is defined and good to go and you're following up with it, you should always, and we're going to speak about this as well, revisit it and improve it when you find the opportunities to do so, especially if you find that there are ways to modify it to assist you with reaching your product and your business goals. So let's get started. If we're talking about product strategy, what exactly is product strategy? Basically, it's a plan to develop or support business goals, stand out in the market with your product, and basically make the company's vision a reality. Now, keep in mind there's some key words that are highlighted here. We're talking about a plan. So you're basically determining beforehand what you want to do, why, and how you're going to go about accomplishing it. You have goals, which is also a key component of your product strategy. And then along with this, as it says, stand out in the market. When you're in a competitive market with multiple options that your customers and users can basically choose from, what are you doing to differentiate your product and make it unique so that you can basically accomplish your goals? And then, along with this, when you think about your company vision and making it a reality, products are built inside companies. Product managers work inside companies. So, your product strategy must be directly aligned with your business strategy, which means, of course, that the business or the company strategy must come first. Now, with that said, now that we've defined product strategy, what are the benefits of having a product strategy in place? Number one, it makes your team more focused. For those of you who work in product management, you understand that there are constantly new requests that are coming in from customers. Your competitors are always up to something new. There are new innovations that are happening in the market, right? When you have a defined product strategy, you can leverage it to determine which specific initiatives do you want to pursue? And likewise, what are the ones that you're going to leave on the back burner and come back to later? Whether you'll revisit them in the future or they're a definite no. Having a defined product strategy also basically helps you define your product. There's tons of competition in the market. You might be a first mover in your market, but of course, with first mover advantage, there are always copycats that come. And sometimes they might come with other unique value propositions for your customer base. With a defined product strategy, you can clarify your specific value proposition and basically set your product apart from your competitors. Likewise, with a defined product strategy, you have cross team alignment. Product managers, one of the key functions that they have is supporting the stakeholders that they work with, being a quarterback to them. So, as you're working with development, as you're working with product marketing, as you're working with sales, business development, etc., when you have a defined product strategy, you can ensure that all of the cross functional team members that you work with are on the same page. Who are our target customers? What are the company goals that we're working towards? What are the key initiatives that we're working towards and why? So, again, you have a focused team, a defined product to set it apart from the market, and likewise, the key stakeholders that you're working with are also all on the same page with regards to what are the key priorities and why. Now, a question that is asked is, product strategy sounds nice, but what role does it play? What function does it play in product management? There's a senior product manager that I know. We used to work together when I used to work at Tiny Hearts, an app studio here in Toronto that was purchased by Shopify. And I brought him in to speak to our students and share his experience. And one of the key things that he said is now that he's in a senior role as a product manager, he has found that product strategy plays a huge role. Not that execution is not important, but if you really want to set yourself apart and get ahead in product management, the higher up you get up the career ladder, the more importance that product strategy plays. Because when you think about product management, some people basically boil it down to strategy and execution. But then along with that, stakeholder management. So product strategy is a cornerstone of product management. It's huge because before you even work with your team to build new features, launch new features, etc., and products, you need to define what are you building, who are you building them for, and why. And if we think about product management as a whole, all of the tasks and responsibilities that product managers have boil down into one of the following three: being customer focused, making data driven decisions, and supporting stakeholders. You will understand who your target customers are with a defined product strategy. Being customer focused, you'll be able to make data driven decisions with a defined product strategy. Likewise, leveraging your data to ensure that your strategy is actually benefiting your products and likewise your organization. And then, along with this, supporting stakeholders with regards to ensuring that everyone's on the same page and you're all focused on the right initiatives. But again, it starts with your product strategy, which is key to the product management function. So, with that said, what are the elements of a winning product strategy? There are two, though I know you see three on this slide here. It starts with a product vision. It's not necessarily a key component, though some may argue that it is. But before you even define what your goals and your initiatives are, you need to be able to define and understand and set the vision for what the future state of your product should look like. So you start with the product vision as a cornerstone. Then you go into defining the specific product goals. And this is where you're basically measuring the progress of how you are working towards the defined product vision. And thereafter, the key initiatives that you're going to pursue that are basically, hopefully, will have a large impact on the goals that you are trying to achieve. So, product vision, product goals, and product initiatives. So, if we dive into each one just a bit more, as I said, with regards to the product vision, this basically defines the future state of your product. One of the benefits of having a defined product vision is that it acts as a guide and likewise a key motivating force for your team. It's not simply the case that individuals work on your team because they want to earn a paycheck, but they are also motivated and likewise they have fervor to the vision that you want to achieve for your product. Again, it defines the future state. Okay. The mission will define why the product exists, whereas the vision is you basically describing how you want that product to be in the future. And there are many examples of this from popular companies like, for example, SpaceX, Facebook, etc. But LinkedIn, their product vision is to connect the world's professionals and make them more productive and successful. So before defining their product strategy, this is the vision that they're working towards. This is the cornerstone in which their product strategy is built upon. The next key element, before we go into that, some things to keep in mind when it comes to the product vision, some tips that you can all take away as you're working on yours. Number one, be ambitious. Okay. As the statement goes, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Make it something that your team is passionate and they're ambitious to work on. You also want to ensure that you are standing out from the rest of your competitors. So you want to clarify how your product is going to stand out and set itself apart from competition. Make sure as you're defining your vision, you're focusing on your customers. Products are built to benefit customers and users to solve their problems, so ensure you're putting yourselves in their feet. And then lastly, define the legacy of the product. What lasting impact do you want this product to have on the world? So keep these four key tips in mind as you are defining your product vision. Now, moving forward, as I mentioned with regards to the product goals, this is you basically defining how you're going to measure the progress of working towards your product vision. Now, as mentioned, products live inside companies. Products are built by companies. Product managers work inside companies. So your product goals should directly align to the business goals, just like your product strategy should directly align with your business strategy. And as you're defining your product goals, three key questions that you want to answer are: what do you want to achieve? What is the deadline? Is it for the quarter, the year? And then along with this, how are you going to measure success? What are those key metrics that you are going to look at? Very simple example of this: increase your revenue for this year, 2023, by 20% with a new paid module. Just one simple example. Now, after your product goals have been defined, here comes the initiatives. And these are basically the high effort and hopefully high impact items that you're going to work on with your cross-functional teams to release. As mentioned, these require cross-functional collaboration as a product manager or product person supporting other stakeholders to get things done. And these are basically defined after the product goals are defined, not before, because these initiatives should be there to support the product goals. So a very simple example of this is enhancing your payment experience for customers to collect payments a lot faster. Just one example among many that can be given. Now, with this said, there are different types of product strategy that multiple product companies employ. Okay. 5 key ones, as you can see here. There's target customer, quality led, feature led, service led, and then likewise the low cost strategy. But there is one more as well, which we'll get to at the end. So let's dive into each one of these and see some companies that basically employ each one. So if we're thinking about target customer, this is whereby you have a product that is basically targeted towards a specific customer. While products can be built to serve multiple customers, you won't be successful this way. You cannot necessarily please everyone. So you need to think about who is your target customer or who are your key target customers. And then as you're defining your initiatives, as you're defining your goals, as you're working on new features, enhancements, even addressing bugs, you are ensuring that these improvements that are being made are to serve your specific target customer or target customers. Early Facebook is an example of this. When they initially launched, it was only available to college and university students. Only after, as they grew and they added more value propositions, now it's open for many more users. And many other product companies employ this strategy as well. The other product strategy is exceptional service. Okay. And this is a key strategy that multiple companies use to set their products and likewise their services apart. And this is basically where you are catering to customers that desire high quality service. So this can mean, for example, addressing bugs as early as possible. If customers reach out to your team, you're following with them as soon as possible. Once your customer signs up for your product, you have extensive post-sale support and likewise, maybe even custom work that is done for customers and users as well to support them. An example of this product is e-compliance. This is a product that I manage. One of the reasons that many of our customers are happy and sign up for our product is because of the fact that they love the service that our team offers, from post-sales support to support that they get from the customer success team. And even the fact that if they have any issues, our product team, like myself, are always happy to hop on a call and address their issues, even if it's only a small bug that they are facing. Third type of product strategy is quality led. And we all know a company that follows this strategy, Apple, which I'm sure many of us here have Apple devices from iPhones to iPads, etc. And this is basically where you're offering a high quality experience throughout your entire cycle to your customers and users. Whether it's software, hardware, the services that you offer, quality is of the utmost importance. Now, with this approach, it will lead to more expensive products because you do have more expensive inputs that are going into your product. However, there are multiple customers that are willing to pay for high quality, as we can see with Apple's customers. Again, many of us have their products even though they are more expensive than other competitors in the market. Why? Because we are pleased with the quality that they offer. And it's that quality that makes us attracted to their products. Fourth type of product strategy is the low cost strategy. And this is basically where you are competing with others based on price. Okay. Now, this can be accomplished when the resources and materials to make the product are a bit cheaper. And for example, there is the product TidyCal. This is a product that is a competitor to Calendly, which offers some similar features. However, they have a lifetime cost of $24.99. Very cheap product. You're not paying a monthly fee. You pay one fee of $24.99 and you have this product for life. The fifth type of product strategy is where you are a feature differentiator. Okay. And this is a key strategy that's followed by many digital products. This is where you have differentiation based off of innovation, features, or, for example, inputs in your product. And here, capabilities basically take the forefront as your customers and users are basically choosing these products for the value that they provide and the unique features and offerings that are there. Disney Plus is an example of this. They do have many features, for example, that are similar to Netflix or Hulu, but one of the reasons that people decide to basically sign up for Disney Plus is because they have exclusive content from the Disney family. Content that you'll find on Disney, but you won't find on Netflix, you won't find on Hulu, nor will you find on other streaming platforms. Unique content that you're only going to find here. So these are the 5 different types of product strategies. However, there is one more. And this is basically a mixed strategy. This is whereby you have many brands that do this that basically employ a mixed strategy. So, of the 5 that are available, you mix and match some of them. And there's no hard rule against this. There's nothing wrong with this. There are many brands that do it. So if it works for you, you can do so as well. And an example of this, you should all recognize the logo as you see airfocus. Airfocus basically targets its products to a specific target customer, but then along with this, it also has unique features that you're not going to find in other product management tools as well. So these are the 5 + 1 6 different types of product strategy. So here's a reliable product strategy framework that you can follow. And as you can see, there is the guide that you will all have access to that you can download. My apologies for the noise. There is someone in my home. I know this isn't expected, but not much that I can do about it. But hey, real
No,
time.
no, it's okay. It's okay. We all are home. We all have other people.
So this is a reliable framework that you can basically follow. So, number one, understand who your target customers are. Second, you assess the product and the company. Okay. With this, you also perform some competitive analysis as well, whereby you're understanding who are the competitors in your market, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and likewise, what are the differences that your company and products have with them. You also have to have a key understanding of your market and your industry. Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Are there investors that are investing? Are there innovations that are taking place, etc.? After this is done, you establish some specific goals that you want to accomplish, and then you determine your go to market plan. What is your plan to take your products into the market and ensure that customers and users are hearing about it to hopefully acquire? And step number 7, extremely important. And again, these are outlined and detailed in the guide, so get your hands on it. Revisit your product strategy. As Alan mentioned in the beginning, there always is room for improvement. So once your product strategy is created, that does not mean that it's set in stone. Just like a product roadmap, it's constantly improved and revisited. Do the exact same with your product strategy, especially if you find that it's not helping you accomplish your goals, and likewise work towards your product vision. Now, when it comes to executing on the product strategy, once it's been done, your work is not complete. You define your product strategy, but there are some key artifacts that are going to be created thereafter. And here are some artifacts that you can use, and likewise, some of those that you should keep in mind to benefit yourself and likewise the stakeholders that you work with, especially your internal stakeholders. You have the product strategy canvas. And again, these are outlined and detailed in our guides. And this is basically a step-by-step guide to craft each step of your product strategy. So everything that's been mentioned here, you download a product strategy canvas, and there are a bunch of them that are available online. And basically, step by step, you answer the questions and put your product strategy together. Thereafter, you'll have your product strategy roadmap. And this is a key artifact that's relied on by stakeholders to basically visualize the strategic plans of your product with the initiatives that you are going to pursue to accomplish your goals. Likewise, information on the resources that you have available and more. And for the product leaders here, I'm sure you all understand what a roadmap is. There are multiple different types of roadmaps that are available. And for more on roadmaps in general, do check out the guides that are available on airfocus. We did publish an extensive guide on this topic. And then lastly, you have a product strategy document. Now, we all know what a product requirements document is, but what exactly is the product strategy document? It's basically a document that outlines your product strategy. Now, you as a product person, a product leader, you would and you should understand what your product strategy is. But for new product people that join your team, or even new marketing individuals that join your team, they should also understand what your product strategy is. And that is the benefit of this document, especially for your internal stakeholders. New individuals that are joining your team and existing individuals, they can view this document and they have all this information handy. Again, one of the key benefits of having a defined product strategy is that there is alignment and a shared understanding with your cross-functional team members. Now, there are many questions that are asked when it comes to product strategy, and we've outlined these in the guides as well. And I'm just going to briefly go through some of the questions and answers here, and then we'll have one more poll and we'll open it up for Q&A. One question that's asked, and I've already answered this, there are 5 different types of product strategies, but can many of them use or be used at the same time? Yes. If we think about the 6th one, a mixed strategy. Nothing saying that you can't do it. This is a strategy that many brands and companies and products employ. So if this works for you, go ahead. But again, if it works for you, if it doesn't, modify it. The other question, how important is strategy for product managers? It's huge. Product management, again, strategy, execution, and stakeholder support. And as I mentioned initially, as you go higher up the career ladder as a product manager, strategy becomes even more important. It's not simply just about building things, but defining what are you going to build and why. The other question here is product strategy versus business strategy. Which one comes first? Products are built by businesses. The business strategy must be defined first because your product strategy is being built to support the business strategy, just like the product goals are there to support the business goals. Now, is there a specific framework that's used to develop product strategy? No, there isn't one specific framework. You can rely on the framework that I shared, likewise, that's in the guide. But if you find another one that works for you, you can also do that as well, or utilize that one as well. Now, another question that's asked is, how often should your product strategy be updated? Once your product strategy is defined, again, it's not set in stone. If it is assisting you with accomplishing your product and business goals, then great. If it is assisting you with basically achieving your product vision, then great. However, if you find that goals are not being accomplished, the vision is not necessarily being seen, then you should modify it. And then lastly, what needs to be in place before defining the product strategy? As I mentioned, you should have the company or business strategy defined, given that the product strategy is built on it. Have an understanding of the industry that you operate within. Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Innovations? What are investors up to? Also, your competition. What are your competitors up to? What are their recent releases? What are their strengths and weaknesses versus your products and your company? And then, along with this, information about your customers, demographic information, but then also thinking about jobs to be done in the value proposition canvas. Who are your target customers and what are their key pain points, their desires, and then likewise the needs that they have as well. Thank you all for listening. Now, before we open the floor up to questions, we have one more poll. And basically, we want to understand what are the biggest or what is the biggest challenge that you face when you basically develop a product strategy.
What do you reckon the answer will be, the most selected answer? Okay, we're getting answers slowly.
I'm also curious to see what the biggest challenge that many
Well,
face is.
which one do you reckon will has the most what?
I think it's related to basically aligning it with the roadmap. That's what I'd say.
Okay, seems like it's prioritization, features, and roadmap is the biggest challenge that people face when coming up with a product strategy. So, do you have any tips other than what you mentioned in the presentation?
Prioritization is one of the key responsibilities that product managers play. I mean, to be frank, that's one of the key reasons why you're in the organization. One of the things that I generally advise, at least my students, when it comes to prioritization, is two key things. So, number one, have a defined framework or method that you're using for prioritization. Whether you want to use, say, value to impact, Moscow, et cetera, or some other method. Again, there is no set method that has to be used by product teams. Some companies even modify these. Whatever method or framework you use, ensure that it's clear to your team so that when you do get to the end of defining specifically what you're going to work on, everyone understands how you came to that decision. But then, secondly, which makes your life as a product manager easier, include your key stakeholders as part of the discussion. Because when it comes to understanding or estimating what the value may be to some specific pieces of work versus the effort, your stakeholders might have some information that you're not privy to. And ultimately, even though it is generally the product manager or product leader that will define what is going to be worked on, this is in collaboration with others. And the same goes for the roadmap as well. So if you understand what the business strategy is and you understand what the business goals are, then as you're defining and basically prioritizing what to address, if you have an understanding and estimation of effort to value, then with your team members, you can basically focus on the ones that will have maximum impact on the product goals and likewise company goals. Not an easy process. Multiple discussions will ensue. But again, have a framework in place and leverage your stakeholders.
I would agree that including so many stakeholders would create a bigger discussion, but I also agree to you that it will bring a greater output. I have some questions. First question that I want to ask you is here I put it. What are the common mistakes when PMs create their product strategy?
I think some common mistakes would be number one, not having a good understanding of the company strategy. So, for a product manager, they would understand the importance of product strategy, but sometimes you might have businesses whereby the business started and some way, somehow they've gotten customers and users, but they don't exactly have a defined strategy. They don't have defined goals. They just want to simply continue supporting their customers and users and earning revenue. So, work with management to actually put a defined company strategy in place because, as mentioned, that's important for the product strategy. Another thing that I'd say is just not having enough information with regards to your customers' key needs. And then, along with this, what's happening with regards to your competitors as well, right? Because your product strategy, you should be building and defining products to serve your target customers. If you don't exactly know what their key pain points, what their key needs are, what key jobs that need to be done, it's basically going to handicap you a bit as you are basically defining your product strategy. And the product strategy should also help you win in your market. So if you don't know who your key competitors are up to and how you fare against them, then that is problematic. Another thing that I'd say is, again, having a defined product strategy is beneficial because it will make or provide a shared understanding with your key stakeholders. So once your product strategy has been defined, have those artifacts in place and don't just create the artifacts and share it with your team members. Book some meetings with your cross functional team members as well and explain the product strategy to them. And along with this, include them in the process because it's not simply just you that's talking to your users and customers. Your sales members are talking to them as well. The customer success team is also talking to them. Support team is talking to them. Understanding what's happening in the market, your marketing team will be doing research as well. So include them as part of the process. And once you have those artifacts in place, share it and disseminate this information among your team. Again, when everyone has a shared understanding of the product strategy, it will make prioritization easier and defining what specifically are we going to focus on a lot easier as well.
Yeah, it seems like having a well-defined product strategy is the biggest key element of it is including all the stakeholders because that was the answer that we gave to other question and this one as well. So I got that. It's very important then. Okay. Geraldine, if I'm spelling it right, has a question. What is an effective way, in your experience, to keep in various stakeholders in the business to buy into the product vision, as the vision is usually quite broad and different leaders in the business can interpret it differently?
Best way to keep individuals in the business to buy into the product vision. So, as I said, I think it should be ambitious. One other thing that I think would be beneficial is, to be frank, don't define the product vision yourself. Include them as part of the process. So I know I'm mentioning stakeholders a lot, and that's because product managers don't work within a silo, right? And even within the product management function, there are other stakeholders and team members that you rely on. So even though things may be defined by you, you can't necessarily get things done unless there's buy-in, which is why this question is important, right? So again, I'd say make it ambitious, give them examples of, let's just say, other product visions of competitors that you have in the market. But I think a key thing here would be make this a group activity. Maybe bring these stakeholders into a room, have a workshop, have everyone share their thoughts, vote on it, and then just ensure that everyone's bought in. But then along with this, as everyone is sharing their ideas, don't simply just, post a sentence on a sticky note, but explain what this means to you and ensure that there's shared understanding among everyone. And once it's been defined, I think things, for example, as if your company, for example, can basically post this on a wall somewhere, or you can have this in some of your key product management artifacts that you're sharing with others, or as you have presentations, just reminding everyone here is what we're working towards for the vision. But again, key thing I'd say, make it a collaborative exercise to come up with the product vision with everyone sharing their interpretation and then vote on it.
Yeah, I think like when it comes to this, then having like a workshop, what you just suggested, is one of the best ideas. And everyone can put their own ideas, and then you can just like brainstorm on all of them. We have another question, not a question, but asking for tips from Eva, I think. So, tips for PMs put into the middle of previous PM person's ongoing project. Let me just answer it live.
Tip for a product manager that you are put into, let's just say, a project or a product that a previous manager has already gotten started on. Is this previous product manager still present, for example, or have they left and now you're basically taking over this project completely or this initiative?
Present.
Okay, so they're still there. Well, is this another question I have? Is this person still supporting or are they handing it off to you? Let's assume they're handing it off to you. We can assume.
Supporting for a month, his answer
Okay.
or her answer,
Okay.
but we can
They're
maybe discuss
supporting.
the both case.
Yeah, okay. So maybe they're supporting for a month and then thereafter you're going to basically manage this thereafter. So some key things that's important: grab as much information from their brain as much as possible. What are we working on? Why are we working on it? Which managers, so let's just say executive leaders, are sponsoring this project? Are there any stakeholders that I need to be aware of that may potentially cause an issue, right? Along with this, any key documentation or artifacts that they've already created, get access to them and consume as much of the information as you can. Also, understand who the key members on the project or the product are and basically how you will be interacting with them. And if there's anyone that they need to introduce you to, just so you can ensure that you have a positive collaborative experience with them, do so. But again, I think the key things are is generally when a product manager starts a product, there's a lot of information that might be in their brain that they haven't exactly documented or things they know that haven't been documented or shared. So get as much of this information that you can so it can help you understand what the historical context of what you're working on is. But then along with this, make decisions to drive the product or the project thereafter after you are working on it. So those meetings to get the information, ensuring information is documented, but then along with that, understanding within the organization who are the key individuals that are sponsoring and supporting this project in case you run into any issues. But then along with that, the individuals that are on the team that are working on this, what are their roles, and likewise how do each of them basically play a role into pushing this forward. And again, another very important thing: why are we working on this in the first place? What key goals is this supposed to accomplish for the business? Because if that is defined and as you're working on it, you reach a point where you determine that, you know what, right now, the way that the state of this project or product is not going to accomplish the business goals, then you have a decision to make whether you want to continue or basically close it off. But if you do understand what the key goals are, and as you work with your team, having those goals in mind will help you determine how exactly you modify, enhance, and take that project to the finish line. And likewise, help address if there are any issues that pop up as well. So that's what I'd say. I know we have some other product managers in the chat as well. So you can all feel free to chime into some of these questions as well if you have any thoughts.
Thank you, Quadri. Uyen has a question as a follow-up question on your answer earlier. So she's asking to have stakeholders vote on your product vision. Different people have different grasps on product and the business strategy. Would you consider the votes equally? Should it be an open vote?
Would I consider the votes equally with regards to, let's just say, who has a grasp on product versus the business strategy? Personally, I don't think I would. So, for example, I don't think I would or I don't think I'd make the vote of the CEO more important than the product manager, for example, because even though, let's just say, product managers will manage the product, you have executive leaders that are concerned about the business as a whole. Everyone everyone plays a hand in hand role with regards to the overall success of the business, right? So if the company strategy is defined and the company vision is defined, as you're defining the product vision and the product vision and likewise the product strategy, I don't think I would basically give people different votes with regards to this. Start the meeting with a shared understanding, explain what a product vision is, give some examples. Likewise, I think at the onset of the meeting, share with everyone what you hope to accomplish by the end of the meeting, what the rules of the votes are, and then go from there. But again, products are built inside companies. The company is important, but then again, what is a company without its products, right? And what is a product without the company? So both of them are important here.
Thank you for your answer. I have one last question, if there is no more question. So the final question is, how do you balance short-term and long-term goals when developing a product strategy? I want to learn the answer for this question because I know that we need to renew our product strategy for like quarterly, annually. But how do we align them with our short-term or long-term goals?
So, when you are basically putting a product roadmap together, for example, you will have a mix of some of those low hanging fruits. And these are those items that are high value, low effort. So, they might provide a lot of impact with regards to, let's just say, revenue, making your product more innovative, more competitive, bringing in more customers, higher ratings, et cetera, et cetera. But they don't exactly take too long. But then, along with this, you're going to have those items that are high value, high effort, right? So, to be honest, I think it's just a prioritization game because when you're thinking about your goals, let's be frank, for companies, they always have goals that they need to accomplish for the quarter. They also have goals they need to accomplish for the year. And even some companies have goals that they basically need to accomplish 2 or 3 years from now. So, again, it is important to have the company goals defined because if you understand what specifically are the company goals for this quarter versus the year versus 3 years from now. My organization, for example, we have specific goals for this quarter, we have specific goals for the year, and then we also have specific goals for 3 years. So as I'm working on the product strategy and as I'm working on the roadmap, and as I'm working with my stakeholders and getting in a whole bunch of requests, understanding what competitors are up to, what's happening in the market, I am basically ensuring that we have items on the roadmap and our product strategy is catered towards helping us accomplish our short-term goals, our yearly goals, and then likewise, we're also working towards the 3 year goals from now. Now, to be frank, this is not easy because, again, there are multiple things that can be done. And when you do have a lovable product with multiple customers and users, there are a ton of requests that come in. But again, this is why I think it's important to have prioritization framework in place. And then along with that, again, this is a discussion with your stakeholders as well. Because if you do just decide to focus on the short term, you'll accomplish your short term goals, but the long term goals won't be accomplished. And if you just decide to adjust the long term goals, to be frank, many business leaders won't like this because you might be missing out on short term gains and benefits to accomplish your short term goals. So it is difficult. It's a prioritization game. But as I mentioned, know the company goals, have a process in place. And this is a discussion with your stakeholders, keeping in mind the resources that you have available and likewise how many team members and how much time you exactly have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your answer. Very final question this time. It's because I wanna also learn the answer. So we are trying to achieve our product strategy goals by time, but how do we success the measure of our product strategy?
It depends on what the key metrics that you are tracking are. Let's put it that way, right? So, a couple of things. So, as I mentioned, the product vision is a cornerstone. Once you have that defined, is this actually being accomplished? Do you see that your product vision is actually being actualized in the world, if that makes sense, right? Some other things to keep in mind, the product strategy should help you define your target customers. Now, this isn't a specific metric, but there are metrics for this, like NPS score. But are your customers and users actually happy with your product, right? The customers that you are basically providing your products and your services for, are they happy? What are their sentiments? Are they sharing your product from the rooftops with other individuals? And likewise, are they continuing to use your product as well? And then lastly, the key thing here is again, the product strategy should be aligned with the company strategy, product goals aligned with the company goals. So if you have targets for revenue, if you have targets for retention, if you have targets for, let's just say, active users, are you actually accomplishing your targets or not? So you have the product strategy in place, you have the product goals in place, you have those KPIs or those metrics that you're tracking. If you determine that you continue to be a competitive force within your industry, your customers are happy, the company goals are being accomplished, and likewise, there's shared understanding among your team, you're doing a good job. If, however, you're losing to competition, your customers are not happy, and you're not accomplishing business goals, then this is where you basically need to revisit and modify your product strategy bit. Ultimately, it does tie into, are you helping push the business forward with whatever its key goals and metrics are, which, to be frank, boil down into making more money and likewise keeping more money in the bank account. So revenue generation, and then along with that, revenue retention.
Thank you. That is a great answer to my question. And I think there is no more questions. Is there anything you want to add on top of all these?
Well, again, apologies for the impromptu
Oh no.
disruption, but this is post-COVID. All of you get to see everything
Yes, we're
happening. Yeah.
all used to those kind of scenes now.
Yeah. Thank you all for attending. As mentioned, product strategy is an extremely important topic. Even myself now in a senior product manager role, I'm starting to see how much more of an importance it plays because for many product managers early in your career, you might be a bit more focused on execution, but as you get higher up the ladder, it's more about what problems are you solving and why. So, two key things I'll say for those of you who have not worked on a product strategy before, don't be afraid, get started. There are a ton of resources that are out there to assist you. And then lastly, I hope you all found this webinar beneficial, but do take advantage of the detailed guide that airfocus has put together. It contains a lot of what I've mentioned and a lot more, including many more examples as well. And airfocus, besides the fact that they have an awesome product, they continue to push knowledge and resources and basically beneficial tools for the product community. So do check out the website and the multiple resources that are available.
Thank you, Quadri, for summarizing up all them, and thank you for a great presentation and your time. And thank you all of our attendees for joining us today. Hope to see you at the next event, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.